Now we'll study what is the difference between a class and an object. So class is a data type, whereas an object is an instance of class, right? Or we can say from the class we can generate many objects. That is, class is also called as an object factory, as we can generate from the various objects. Now object, it gives life to class, because unless until there are so many objects, there is no class. Next is, class does not occupy memory, as it is just a concept. It does not occupy any memory location, whereas object occupies memory location. It cannot be manipulated because it is not available in memory, because now as it is a concept, so it cannot be manipulated, whereas an object can be manipulated, right? Now there are four most important, you can say, the pillars of the object oriented programming, that is OOPS: abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. I'll explain one by one each of them. Abstraction is the mechanism to show only the relevant data to the user. That is, the client cares about what functionality a car offers, not about how that functionality is implemented, right? So the abstraction or the data abstraction refers to the act of representing the essential feature without including the background details or the explanation. Now there are many things we use in our house also. Take an example of a television. That is, we know how to make use of the television, but we are not aware of, or not interested rather, I say, the things what is happening inside that thin box, right? So that is a concept of abstraction. We are only interested in essential feature, to know that how we can make use of that device, right? So that is called as abstraction. Encapsulation allows the programmer to group the data and the methods that operate on them together in one place, and to hide the details from the user. As in my earlier example of abstraction, in a television or in a TV, they have designed one electronic, say a kind of PCB, on which they have assembled certain components, and these components they have covered with a black kind of a plastic kit, and also they have provided the mechanism, that is a kind of a remote, through which we can operate on those. We can give the instruction to the TV, that is how it has to be operated. So that is again an example of encapsulation. So that is, encapsulation is the wrapping of the data and the operational functions into a single unit, and that unit is called as class, is known as encapsulation. Now here you can see the implementation of abstraction versus encapsulation in our very common device, that is a mobile phone. Now here the features which are there available on our screen by which we can operate our mobile is a part of abstraction, and the electronic, see the circuit board which is there inside this whole device is the concept of encapsulation. Very well understood the concept, what is encapsulation and abstraction. Now the word inheritance. Now we all familiar with this word inheritance. We acquire certain properties or say the features from our parents. That is again a inheritance. Now what is an inheritance here? It is an ability of a new class to be created from an existing class by extending it. That is, here you can say the inheritance is the capability of one class of things to inherit the capabilities or the properties from another class. That is, there is a student class and the student can be of a college or can be of a school. So these again can be the two classes of the student. Now again the college student can be a BSc or a diploma, or in a school it can be a primary student or a secondary or higher secondary student. So now these again, now the class, that is, you can say a base class is a super class from which another class is inherits properties. Inheriting class, the class which is get inherited, is called as the base class or the derived class, right? So here in this example, the student is on the top, so it's the parent class, we can say a base class. Now the two classes get inherited from it, so that is the college and the school. So these are the two, you can say the derived class or the base class, the subclass. And the college has another, say the two class, that is the BSc and the diploma. They are again, we can say, the subclass of the super class or the base class college, and the same way for the school also. The last is polymorphism. Now polymorphism is the ability of an object to take to many forms. The most common use of polymorphism is in OOPS occurs when a parent class reference is used to refer to a child class object. Any Java object that can pass more than one is a test is considered to be polymorphic. Now here in the figure you can see I've just drawn a shape. So the shape, say it can be a circle, it can be a triangle, or it can be a square, or it can be a rectangle, or it may be any polygon. So then depending upon the shape, we have the different shapes. So I used the word shape only. So that is what is an example of, we can say, a polymorphism. So this is all about the concepts of object oriented programming. Now here we learned the anatomy of a Java program. On the left hand side, that is the program Java program 1. A small program is there, the first program, and on the right hand side I have given the explanation of what it is. Now here the class is the reserved word, and after the class I've written a word hi there. So hi there is a identifier, a name given to a class. So it's an identifier for the class. The Java programs, what we do is we write the entire thing, the statement in a class, and in the class we write the various methods, or we can say the functions. So again, and a very important part is a Java is a case sensitive language. That means the uppercase letters are different from the lowercase letters. So if anything written in uppercase, it has to be written in uppercase to refer later on, right? Now here the explanation is regarding the anatomy of the Java program. That is, the entire program is divided into various code blocks. Code block is, we can say, the opening braces, and there is a close brace for a code, right? and all programs have several blocks. That means there can be more than one block. And another very important part is the braces must be balanced. The braces are often nested. Nested means there is an opening brace, and then inside this another brace is going to get open, so that is called as the nested brace. And then we have, say, some set of statement, and then there is a closing brace. We'll learn this in the later part of this. Now the method is contain a block of functional code. Whatever we are going to write here, the public static void main, I'll give you the explanation in the later part of this, but here this is a method. The method is going to identified as the class is identified by a name of the class. The method is also going to identified by the name of the method, and here it is the main application. Now the main method, this is the method called the main, and the application execute their main method on the execution of a program. Now there can be in one class, there can be more than one method by different names, but the execution, the main is a special kind of a method from where the execution starts. Now every single statement in Java must be terminated by a semicolon. You all familiar with this? Now the println here in this program, the statement calls the library method system.out.println, and the method is to print something. Whatever we provide as an argument, it is going to print the value. The argument of the println is a string. Here in this case, as it says, the hello world. And in Java, the strings are delimited by double quotes. That means if we have to write a group of characters, we have to write inside a double quotes. There are situations where we have to give the comments in our program. Comments means they are the something like a non-executable statements. They are just for the reference. So there are two types of comments. One is a multiple line comment and a single line comment. Here the first is a multiple line comment. We start with a backslash and a star, then set of lines, then we have star backslash. So whatever the set of lines we write in between these two slash will be treated as the comment. They have no impact on a programming. The single line comment is as it's shown with the two double backslash back to back. We write a line, and as soon as we come to the next line, the comment line is over, right? So it's a multiple line comment and a single line comment. Every language has some character sets. The same is with the Java. Now there are two types of character sets: ASCII character set and Unicode character sets in computer programming languages. Now ASCII character set is a 7-bit are sufficient to represent a character in ASCII. However, most computers typically reserve 1 bit, that is the last bit of the ASCII character. So we have 256 characters only, which we can represent with the help of ASCII characters. This code was used in earlier programming languages. Now the code used in Java is Unicode that has 65535 characters. It is of 16-bit. Unicode is a universal international standard character coding that is capable of representing most of the world's written languages. The Java is also called as the universal language because it is based on Unicode character set. Now what are keywords? Keywords are the words that have already been defined for Java compiler. They have the special meaning for the compiler. That is, these words are going to use in our program, they convey a special meaning to the Java compiler.